Okay, so you've definitely heard that old saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? But what if I told you the real claim going around is that a picture is worth 60,000 words? Yeah, let's get into this.
Here it is. This is the big one. You see this stat everywhere, in marketing slides, on blogs, in talks about how we learn. It's such a specific, powerful number. It feels like it just has to be true. It basically says, hey, visuals are faster. The debate's over.
But is it? That's what we're going to figure out. We're going to do a little myth busting today, follow the actual research, and see what the science really has to say about how powerful a picture is. All right, first things first, we have to play detective here. I mean, a number that specific, 60,000 times, it has to come from somewhere, right? There's got to be a source. So where did it come from? And this is where the story gets really interesting. Because when you actually go looking for that original study, it's not there. Researchers have dug, and it turns out there's no scientific paper that backs up this claim. It's like an internet ghost story where everyone just links to each other, but there's no origin. You know, what's funny is this 60,000 times claim. It's not alone. It's part of this whole family of huge pro-visual ideas that sound amazing, but are actually built on pretty shaky ground. Things like 90% of all information sent to the brain is visual, or that a majority of us, 65%, are visual learners. They're super popular ideas, but they just don't have the solid science you'd think they do. Okay, so if the 60,000 number is a myth, then what's the real story? What happens when you put our brains to an actual scientific speed test? Let's find out. Now, this number is legit. A totally wild study found that our brains can spot a specific image in a super fast slideshow in as little as 13 milliseconds. I mean, that's almost instantaneous. It's mind-bogglingly fast. So, let's put our numbers side by side. The myth says 60,000 times faster. What does a more realistic estimate say? Well, by piecing together different studies on reading and image processing, the best guess is somewhere between 6 and 600 times faster. Now look, that's still crazy fast, but it is a whole world away from 60,000. And here's the catch. This is a really, really big one, so listen up. That incredible speed we're talking about, it's for a super simple task. It's your brain answering yes or no to a question like, is there a dog in this picture? It is not about understanding a complicated chart or a detailed diagram. Just seeing something isn't the same as understanding it.
Which kind of brings us to the most important question, doesn't it? Who cares how fast you see something if you don't actually get what it means? Speed is cool, for sure, but what about understanding?
So yeah, let's shift gears. We're going to put away the stopwatch now and start talking about what actually sinks in, what we really learn and comprehend from what we see.
I love this slide because it shows this huge gap between what we think and what's real. We all have this really strong belief that adding a picture makes something way easier to understand. But when scientists actually measure it, the effect is, well, it's more moderate. We often feel like a diagram was super helpful, but it doesn't always translate to a better score on a test.
And honestly, this might be the most shocking takeaway of all. Study after study has shown that when you're just measuring pure comprehension, a really well-written paragraph can be just as good as a really well-designed visual. A great picture isn't automatically better than great words. So things are getting a little more complicated, huh? It's not as simple as visuals are always good. We need to get into the details here and figure out when pictures actually help us learn and, yeah, when they might actually hurt. Okay, so here's the secret sauce. The real magic happens when you combine them. The most consistent way to boost understanding is to start with good, clear text, and then add a visual that is relevant and actually teaches something. Text plus a good visual is almost always better than either one by itself. But, and this is a huge but, you can't just slap any old picture on there. Sometimes it can actually make things worse. Pictures that are just for decoration can be super distracting. They can pull your eyes away from the important text, and they can actually make your brain work harder, not smarter. And for some people, like younger kids, it can be tough to make the connection between the words and the picture. So let's wrap this all up. We've busted the big myth, we've looked at the real science, we've explored how understanding works. Let's pull it all together into one smart takeaway. And this table really says it all, doesn't it? If you want someone to understand something, text alone can be great, visuals alone can also be great, but if you combine them thoughtfully, that's when you usually get the biggest bang for your buck. As long as you remember all those little warnings we just talked about.
So maybe we've been asking the wrong question all along. The big takeaway isn't that visuals are just flat out better than words. It's that the right visual, one that actually adds information, paired with clear text, can take a good explanation and make it great. It's about teamwork, not a competition. And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. The next time you're trying to explain something, just ask yourself this: is the picture you're adding really worth 1,000 words, or is it just noise?